Hello guys, so welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be seeing the checkpoint cluster deployment, and just for a brief recap of the lab that we have here today. So within the lab that we have today, we have several elements. So we have our two firewalls, that's the security gateway 1 and the security gateway 2, and both of them are going to be acting in the high availability mode. So in case one particular security gateway goes down, then the other security gateway is going to come up and keep performing the same functionalities as well. So within the setup that you have here, be it whether it's in your lab environment or your physical environment, you need to always make sure that there's always a link between the two security gateways, and this is going to be the synchronization link. So you need this link to ensure that the state table or the session table between the two firewalls is maintained. So depending on the mode, in this particular case, we are going to be deploying the high availability mode, the Asian mode. So in case this security gateway 1 fails, then the security gateway 2 picks up the session and keeps going. The only way you can be able to do that is when the only way you can be able to do that without necessarily dropping packets that it was receiving before is if this particular security gateway 2 can be able to learn about the sessions that were already established by security gateway 1. So that's what we're trying to establish here. And also here we have the security management server. This is going to be our primary security management server, and this is going to be our secondary security management server. So the primary security management server is going to be the one in charge of managing our two firewalls that we have here. And this security management server is equally going to be in high availability mode. Now, although the security management server is going to be in high availability mode, where this is the primary and this is the secondary, the failover is not going to be automatic. So the failover is going to happen only when you initiate it manually. And one thing to note is the version of the operating systems of the firewalls that are in high availability mode must not be above the versions of the security management server. You can always go and check that out at the Checkpoint's website to see actually the compatibility mode of the different operating systems. So we need to just have that in mind before we proceed along with what we have to do. And also have a dedicated log server. Here is equally a Checkpoint appliance that's going to be receiving logs from our firewalls to store them locally within that particular appliance there. So right now, based on the lab that we have here, we have the first time configuration wizard for all the for all the checkpoint devices done here, and equally the first time configuration wizard. And when you're installing it, if you don't know, when you're doing the first time configuration wizard, you normally choose this as a security management server, and you choose it to be the secondary. That's for SMS2. You choose this to be the security management server as well when you're installing this SMS2 via the first time this SMS1 via the first time configuration wizard. You choose it as a security management server, and you choose it to be primary. And here as well, you choose this also to be the security management server, but you're going to choose it to be the log server. So you guys can do that. And also, if you're confused on how to do this, you can go ahead and watch the previous videos where we went through how to go about the installations of um, the checkpoint firewall operating systems available. So also here, when you're installing these two security gateways, you must make sure that you check security gateways, and also you must equally make sure that you check the little box, and there's going to be a little box option just below. You check that and equally check the option that says ClusterXL, because the option that says cluster rather, because both devices are going to be operating the high availability mode. You equally have the active mode where both of them can be up at the same time, but for the purpose of this lab, we are going to be setting them up in such a way that if the security gateway 1 fails, then the secondary can just pick up the session and keep forwarding traffic and keep processing traffic as though nothing happened, to prevent downtime. And one other thing that we need to also notice is that if you look, we have a virtual IP here. We equally have another virtual IP here. The whole tendency is because this is a PC here. It has an IP address, and the gateway will point to the VIP. So this is just going to be like a virtual IP, so that in case the security gateway 1 goes down, these devices will not be depending on the IP that is directly connected to this security gateway 1, but and neither is it going to be directly connect, neither is it going to be relying on the IP address that is directly um, configured on security gateway 2, but it's going to actually be relying on this virtual IP that is independent of these two security gateways. So in case any of them goes down, then this virtual IP is going to be there to be used as a gateway, and we'll see how to set that up. We also have the cluster IP, and this cluster IP is normally used by the security gateways to communicate with the management servers at the top here. So I just had to give that brief description for us to understand what is happening. And with that being said, we are just going to go ahead to see how things can work. So within this lab, we already have our interface is configured. And the only thing we need to note here is that we need to be able to create a route, because this particular router is directly connected to this network and equally directly connected to this other network here, like this. I'll put it this way. And it is also directly connected to this network here. The issue is this network behind here, this other network, it is not directly connected to this network here. So we need to actually create a route from here, telling this router that if it receives traffic that is destined for this particular network, it should forward it to this particular virtual IP here, because this virtual IP is just like the interface of these two firewalls, since they're now going to be acting as one. So if it gets here, definitely this firewall, these security gateways here know how to reach this network behind here, so they'll easily do that. And for the response from this PC, if you want to respond to the traffic back, since the default gateway is already set to this router, it fixes the problem automatically. So you can always try to watch the video again and understand through what I just mentioned to get it properly in case you missed it. So we'll just go ahead from here, and I'm going to go straight into our smart console PC. I'll just double click into that, and we'll see how to set things up as we should. Let me close this and I'll open it from here. So these are smart console PC. I'll just minimize that, and once we are here, I'll just go straight to our smart console. So you need to make sure you have your smart console installed, as we explained in the previous videos. Alright, so once it opens, then we need to put in our username, our password, and then put in the IP address of the primary security management server which was installed. We'll log into our security management, our smart console rather. So once we are here, we'll just proceed with that as well. So while it's coming up, based on the settings that we have here, these IP addresses on this primary security gateway and the secondary were already configured during the installation process. Our virtual IP has not yet been configured, and these particular IP addresses at the level of the sync interfaces have not been configured. So while our security management server is, our smart console is coming up, we can just go ahead, head to our browser, and we will try to then set up those IP addresses on the Gaia portal. So this is our security gateway 1. It's open on the browser here. I'll just hit in and put in our password. If you don't know how to log into it, you just put https:// as long as you're connected to that same network, and you put in the IP address and you hit enter. You'll be prompted with this login details for you to input the username and password. So I'm just going to input the username. That's name. So log in here. I'm just also going to click on the secondary here as well. I'll log in there as well. So we are going to come to the primary. So what we just want to do at the level of the primary security gateway, we want to input this IP here, and on the security gateway 2, that's edge 2, equally input this IP here. So since the point-to-point network, you can just put a suitable subnet mask or a suitable CIDR to fit the environment. So let's just hold on for it to come up, and then from there we are going to be good to go. So now the security gateway 1 is up. So I'm just going to head over to network interfaces. You click on network interfaces. If you try clicking here, or let's say you click on network interface and you see that maybe it's not giving you the option to do any editing, check here. If you have a lock, you need to click on it and obtain the lock before you proceed. But in this case, we'll just go to our topology and we see the interface ET2. So I'm just going to go here and I'll just double click here. You can click and take edit, or you can double click. So I'm going to enable the interface and I'll set the IP address here, which is 1.1.1.1. And the subnet marks, I'll just put 255, the 252. We hit OK there. And I'm going to also head over to security gateway 2 here. It's equally up now. And I'll go to interfaces. And we're just going to do the same thing with its respective IP address. We'll enable the interface. We'll set in the IP address. Equally put the subnet marks thereof. We need to make sure it matches as the other. We hit OK there. And so that is done for now. So from here, we'll head over to, I'll minimize this, or rather I'll just open a smart console here. We should be ready by now. I'll click on it. It's still trying to launch the application. We'll just wait for it to be done. I'll minimize this browser that we have here since we are done with the setup. And we'll just wait for our smart console to come up. So once a smart console comes up, we'll just close this because right now we just have the SMS 1. But remember, we have the SMS 2, we equally have the log server, we equally have the security gateway 1 and the security gateway 2. So what's going to happen is we'll just bring in all these different checkpoint OS that we have installed. We'll make all of them to be managed from one particular environment that's within our security smart console here. I'm just going to hit the first one. I'll hit here and I'm just going to hit cluster and I make sure I click the cluster. We're going to now bring in one of the cluster members. So we'll go to classic mode. We'll just wait for it to come up. So once it comes up, we can give it the name. I'll just give it the name cluster. Can give it the name as cluster, and I'll give it an IP address. This is the cluster IP address we mentioned here. That's 192.168.2.200. And also, depending on what we want, you can check other blades, but we are just going to leave them for now. We'll just allow the basic firewall functionality for that. And once we do that here, we need to go to the cluster members. Like you see, it's an open server. This is the current version. It's the Gaia operating system. We'll go to the cluster members here. You click on cluster members. So here we're going to now bring in the two cluster members. So at this point, before bringing them here, you need to make sure that you actually check the box. When you choose security gateway during the first time configuration wizard, you need to make sure you check the box and beside it you choose cluster. If not, when you get here, you'll face problems. And if you didn't do it at that time, you can always still go back to the CLI of your security gateway. I'll just log into this CLI here, admin. And once you're there, I'll take the log database override. We'll claim the log. And if you use cp config, you'll be able to see if ClusterXL is enabled. So you see, disable cluster membership for this gateway. If we are being told to disable it, that means it's already enabled. So everything is fine there. So I'll head back over here and I'll click add. And I'll take new cluster member. So we're just going to give it the name. I'll just say SG1. And also give the IP address of SG1, this management IP interface here, this interface. So put 192.168.2.2, and then you can change the color. You can play around if you wish to, does not matter. And then make sure you hit communicate. And when you hit communicate, you'll be prompted now to put the one-time password. That's for the SIG. So just input our password and then we'll initialize that particular secure internal communication between the security management server and the security gateway. So it's now trusted. So take here close. So once that is done, we hit OK. The next thing we need to do is we need to take add again to add the second security gateway here. So if I click on add and take new cluster member, we'll just do the same thing one more time. We'll put the IP address of the second security gateway, that's 192.168.2.3. Put it there. And we're equally going, so I think we need to put in name first. We'll just copy that and paste here. We'll put in the name here. The name should be SG2 or any name of your choice. So once we do that, you can hit communicate. And we'll put in the one-time password. And you take initialize. So the trust is established. So in the case where you try to initialize and the trust is not established due to maybe some routing problem or maybe some failure to reach your server, the way you can fix that is go to the security gateway, let's say on the CLI, and then you log in, for instance, and I'll just put here admin123. And also here, because we opened it on the browser, we had access on the browser, the log is commonly locked for control at the level of the browser. So I'll just reclaim the log back. And once we are here, we need to now make sure that you can use cp config to reset the SIG here. So if you want to reset the SIG, you need to choose the option 5. If you type in 5 here, you take option, I'll just type 5. And here, would you like to reinitialize communication? If you want to reinitialize communication, you take yes, that's to reset the SIG because the trust is already established here. But I'll just take no, but I'm just showing you how you can fix that problem in case you tried it and it did not work before. So that's what we'll do. I'll just take no and I'll take 11 here for us to exit this particular menu that we have. So I'll go back to our smart console here. I'll just take close. And once I take close, I'll take OK here. So at this point where I take OK, I'll see both SG1 and SG2. Now priority here really matters. The security gateway, remember we have two of them, security gateway 1 and security gateway 2. Now priority here matters because the first one that is here at the top is going to be the primary, while the next is going to be the secondary. So if I want the SG2 to be the primary, I can just increase priority. It's going to move to the top. Or if I want it to go to the bottom, I can decrease priority. So depending on your environment and what you want, you can play around there. The next thing is you need to go to ClusterXL and VRRP. By default, it's already set to ClusterXL for high availability. It's set to high availability already, ClusterXL, but you can switch to active or load sharing depending on your environment. After that, you need to go to network management here. And with network management, before you get to network management here, you need to make sure that all your interfaces here on your device are configured, because at this point, on the network management here, currently there are no interfaces, but when we are going to get interfaces with the topology or without the topology, it's going to pull all these IP addresses that are available here, so we can have it from that central standpoint. So if you hit the drop down arrow and you take get interfaces with topology, it's going to get all those interfaces on all the devices, and that's where we are going to now put the virtual IP. So let's just wait for it to get to us here, and then from there we'll see how to make them work. We'll just give it some time, and here we go. So we can clearly see that it has already gotten the networks. You see on SG1, these are the IP addresses from SG1. On SG2, these are the different IP addresses. Now for virtual IP here, we'll have to go to each of them and set the parameters as they are supposed to be. So if we look closely on what we were mentioning before, here between these two networks, this is just a sync, just a synchronization link, and between this security gateway 1 and security gateway 2, we need to have a virtual IP. And here between this SG1 internally, from this internal perspective, we need to equally have this virtual IP here, like that. We need to set that up. So I'm just going to clear this, and then we'll move ahead we'll go ahead with our configs. So to do that, you just double click here. Remember, and it also shows you external, this network, this network. The reason why it shows external here is simply because the default gateway is pointing towards this router. So that's why it picks this external facing side of this external facing network to be the external network that's attached there. So when you double click on the first network, the first thing you want to go network type. Since you know that this is part of the cluster, you hit cluster, and it's going to prompt you with this option to put in an IP. So here is where we're going to put in this virtual IP here. That's 192.168.2.1 here. And also put in the subnet mask, that's /24. And that's going to be okay for now. The next thing you want to do is you need to also set in for this 172.16 network here. This is the cluster IP as well at the bottom here. Do the same thing. We'll get in there, and we are also going to set in the virtual IP as well, which is, I hit the drop down arrow here and hit cluster. We'll put in the IP address. (172.16.1.1). So put in a subnet mask of /24, and we are also good to go. We take OK. So now for this final network here, which is going to be for synchronization, which is a sync interface, I'm just going to double click on it, and once it opens up, rather than choosing cluster, we need to choose sync. It's a sync link. So hit the drop down arrow here and choose sync here. That's all you need to do. It does not need an IP address as the others. So you take OK. So once you do that, you're all good to go. And for logs, since the firewalls here, you can just click on logs here. We'll come back here and edit where logs are being sent because we have not yet brought in the different security, the log server yet. The log server is not yet here. When it comes, we'll come back here and make sure that all the other devices are forwarding logs to the dedicated log server. So with that, we are good, and you can take OK. Here, once we take OK, we are going to publish the changes to save everything that we have done. So once you click on OK, the next thing you want to do is just to publish the changes. So you can hit on publish and you save the changes to the security management server. That's SMS1. So at this particular point, two devices here currently have been the high availability setup for them is all complete. The next thing we want to do is we want to bring in our log server, and we equally want to bring in our security management tool, and we can also talk about the high availability state of both our security management server 1 and SMS2 as well. So when we do that, the next thing to do is if you want to bring the log server, hit the drop down arrow, you go to more, and then take checkpoint host. So that's what you're going to use. So you click on that. So just hold on for it to come up. So once you click on the checkpoint host, what you need to do, give it a name. I'll just give it a name as log server. And put the IP address of the log server. That's 192.168.2.6. So I'll just put it there. That's 192.168.2.6. And from here, since it's your log server, before you do anything, you need to make sure that you come to management here and you check login and status. You want it to be a dedicated log server. And if you want to perform smart event functionalities, you can equally click smart event. You can click that. I'll take OK. And equally, you can take the smart correlation as well, depending on how your environment looks like. So you can always check that. But for this lab, we'll just click in the login and status, since that's just what we want. Make sure you do this before you take communicate. So we'll just take communicate here. And we're just going to establish that secure internal communication with our security management server here. So we're putting our one-time password, which is admin123. It's basic for our lab environment. So put that, and we are going to initialize. So trust is established. We'll take close. And once that is done, we can then click on OK. Once it comes up, we are going to find that we have our log server here. I'll just expand to the left. We have our log server. We have our different IP addresses, and we have the versions. And we equally have the blades available. So currently now we just have basic blades for our cluster firewalls. And you can see equally the CPU usage and the likes of that. There are many more commands you can do. And also you can be able to set up this high availability setup at the level of the CLI. And I'll just hit publish here to save the current changes we have made. Hit publish here. And once that is done, I'll hit OK there. So once that is done, the next thing that we'll have to do is, by just give it some time, this cluster is going to come up. The next thing we want to do is you go to your security policies here, and by default, the default policy that's set there is to drop all traffic. In production, you want to always keep the default cleanup rule to drop all traffic, and you want to permit just traffic that's required. You want to give access, you want to always go on the least privileged access, giving access to just resources that need those access or individuals who need it. So for the purpose of this lab, I'll just keep the cleanup rule for now to accept, and I'm going to track logs here, and I'm going to log it. We'll take the logs. And once we do this, I'm just going to install this policy, and we'll install this policy on all our security gateways. So I'll publish and install. Once it's back, we'll just hit on install and wait for it to be installed. So just give it some time, and all should be good when it's done. All right, so when we are done with the policy installation, it's going to give us this information here. I'll just close this, and I'll equally close this here. I'll close that there, and the next thing that we're supposed to do is we are supposed to equally bring in, yes, I think the security management server, the secondary security management server is equally pending. We just need to come here. The time, just give it some time, all your servers are going to come up and they'll also be fine. You need to equally come here and you hit the drop down arrow, you move to more as well, and you take in the checkpoint host tool. So you need to equally click on the checkpoint host, and give it some time for it to open up the prompt. So once it's up, we'll just give it its name. We can just give it a name as SMS2, and we'll put in the IP address of the SMS2 here. This is the IP address 192.168.2.5. So put in that IP address, and before you hit communicate, make sure you go to management here like this, and make sure you choose make sure you come to, this is going to be the secondary security management server. So make sure you choose network policy management here. I'll just check that. So it's going to be the secondary security management server. We can uncheck this if you don't want it to become a log server as well. You can check it as well if you want it to become a log server. But the tendency is make sure that it's always going to be a secondary server by default. You cannot make it to be primary, because the primary security management server is already up. So by default, when you check in network policy management, you're just always going to check the secondary server automatically for you. So once that is done, I'm just going to hit communicate. Then make sure you do that before you take communicate. So hit communication. Then we'll put in our one-time password that was created. Then we are going to take initialize. So the trust is established and everything is fine. So I'll just hit here close, and from here we are also good to go. I'll hit here close as well. So one thing to note also is immediately we set up the, remember we have just brought in the SMS2 here. This is SMS2, and we said the SMS1, we have SMS1, that's SMS1, and we equally have this SMS2. is SMS2. So the way high availability works here is the moment you just hit the publish button, the moment you hit on publish, the synchronization between the database between SMS1 and SMS2 take place automatically. So the database that is shared that the SMS1 has is always going to be shared with SMS2. Yeah, and the synchronization is always going to happen. But SMS1 is always going to be the primary server, and the only way for you to make SMS2 to be the server that can be managing the different firewalls in real time, you need to manually do it by yourself. It's not going to happen automatically. But for the security gateways high availability, that's for the edges high availability, the moment SG1 goes down, SG2 comes up automatically. So have that in mind when you're working like that. So I'll just clear this that we have here, and I'm just going to move ahead straight to publishing what we have made here, and we're going to see how the synchronization is happening between the synchronization of the database is going to be happening between SMS1 and SMS2 when you hit publish here. So I'm going to hit publish, and we'll see how that is going to happen. So I'll just take publish, and if we look closely here at the bottom, let me move my, yes, if we look closely here, we are going to see, let me just take this here to the top, and I'll pin this, and we are going to take details. So if we look closely, you can then see that 20% peer SMS2 is restarting. So it's going to synchronize all what it has with its peer. So it's going to forward all of the contents of its database, and it's going to keep doing that till it reaches 100%. So that's what we have to understand, and it's going to keep doing that behind the scene. Now, talking about the high availability we have here. Currently, right now, these two devices are actually in the high availability state. So how do we know that? We know that because we set it up, but sometimes maybe you want to access the CLI. We are going to log in using to the CLI of our security gateway here. I'll just hit 11 to exit where we were. So just log in normally. I'll just hit clear. So these are SG1. So the command that you're going to use here to be able to see the current state of the cluster state, you can use cpha prop stat, just like the statistics, to see the statistics of what's happening. So you can clearly see here that we have the two firewalls. SG1 is active and SG2 is in the standby state. So this is the standby guy. So SG2 is standby, and currently SG1 is 100% active and SG2 is standby. So that's what we need to note here. But now to failover traffic, before we even try to failover traffic, let's try to do a ping to see if traffic can go through our firewall the way we want it to go, and we test the failover. How long is it going to take before failover happens in case the firewall goes down? So the main reason for high availability is we're trying to avoid downtime to make sure that maybe our critical servers or our critical databases are running locally within our internal environment, and want to make sure that at all given times it's up with minimal downtime. So I'm going to come into this our PC, set this IP address and this gateway, and equally with this our test PC as well, and we are going to perform the ping there. I'll come to this our test PC here. Let me expand the screen so that it can be clear. And I'm equally going to double click into our test PC here and do the same. So we're going to go to our first PC here. I'll just put in the password. I'm equally going to go to this test PC here as well. We'll set up the password here as well. and we'll go to user PC. Based on where this our user PC is located here. We'll put this IP address 172.16.1.3 and the gateway as well. So wait for it to come up. So while the user PC is still coming up, let me go back to our user PC here. I'll just go to the lab that we have. I'll just try to start it back. Definitely was corrupt. So I'll come to our user PC, we'll set our IP address, and this is going to be its gateway IP. So 10.2.2.2. So I'll come here and we are just going to go straight to adding this IP address. We'll open the internet and sharing options. We'll go to change adapter settings and I'll right click, go to properties, and we'll go to our IPv4. While we are there, we'll use the following IP, and the IP address is going to be 10.2.2.2. The subnet mask of /24. Make sure it matches. Equally, don't forget to set your gateway, and that should be it for now. So take OK here. I'll take OK, and I'll close this. So we'll come back to our user PC. User PC is starting up, so let's give it some time. And yeah. So once we are here, while waiting for our test PC to come back up, we are going to go back to our CLI of SG1 or SG2. So for instance, we have seen the details here, and it currently shows us that there's a cluster mode, and we're currently in the high availability active standby mode. And we see that SG1 is the one that's active and SG2 is the secondary. So to be able to fail over traffic, normally in a production environment, what you want is maybe we could have some physical downsides. Let's say we could have power outages on this particular security gateway 1. That's what could happen. Or we could have some power outages here, or maybe some internal failures could just make the device to crash, and traffic then fails over to security gateway 2. So there are various factors that could cause SG1 to crash. So normally in this lab environment, we can directly power this device off, or we can, through the CLI, use a particular command to fail over traffic to SG2. And to use that command, we need to use the expert mode within the CLI there, within the Gaia operating system. So I'll clear what we have here, and I'm going to move to our security, so our CLI here. So to go to the expert mode, we need to set our expert password. So to set the expert password, we'll set expert password, you hit enter, and then you'll be prompted to put in the new expert password. I'll put in the password. You put it again to confirm. And then once we are here, to go to the expert mode, you just need to type expert, and hit enter, and then now you input the password that you just created. So when you input that now, we are currently in the expert mode here. So to fail over traffic, you need to just, since we already know here that this is the primary security gateway, what we then need to do is you just need to come to the CLI and you take CP. So you need to type in ClusterXL with the underscore admin down. Just type in ClusterXL underscore admin down. So that's what you need to type. So you need to type in ClusterXL underscore admin. Let me put this underscore admin down. or up to bring it back up. But before typing this particular command, I want us to go back to our topology. This is our test PC. I want us to put the IP address on our test PC here. I'll just log in there. So once we log into this our test PC, we'll just put in the IP address as it matches what we have here. So I'll right click at the bottom here and we'll go to Open Network and Sharing Center. We change adapter settings. We'll right click and we're going to go to the properties, IPv4. That's what we are interested in for now. We'll use the following IP 172.168.1.3. Yes. 1.3. We'll put in our subnet marks. Make sure it matches /24. And equally put the default gateway, which will point to the VIP. And we should be good for now. I'll just hit OK. And I'll take OK here as well. So with that being said, the device has its IP. So now I'll come to PC1 here. This is our test PC. We'll go back to our user PC. This is our user PC here. I'll just close, or let's say you can maintain. I'll close this window. We are going to open the command prompt to test for connectivity. So I'm going to ping the IP address of our test PC here. Remember, our test PC is on this side and our user PC is on this side. Traffic is expected to flow through the cluster and get to the test PC and the response as well. So we're going to go to the PC here and we're just going to input, we'll just do the ping. We'll try to ping, we'll ping the 172.16. No, we are trying to ping 10.2.2.2. So hit that ping and hit enter here. So this is our user PC. So from here, we are getting a timeout. So we're just going to investigate why we are getting this timeout. So I'll just check rapidly. I'll just check the IP address here. If it matches what we said. Yes, 255.255. And the gateway, the VIP IP is equally set as well. And from our test PC side, I'll equally check the IP address we have just set. And yes, the IP address is set here as well to this here. All right, so the reason why traffic is failing is because we have not created the routes. There's one final route we need to create in the router. We need to tell the router, as I explained earlier on, that if it receives traffic that's destined for this network, it should forward it through this VIP IP here. So we'll just go into our router and I'll just go back here. I'll double click on the router. So this is our router here. I'll just enter there and I'll exit this interface and we'll just do the route, IP route. If the destination is 172.168.1.0 with the subnet mask of 255. Forward the traffic to that VIP IP there, 192.168.2.100. So this is what we're doing here. You should forward it to this particular IP address here. We're telling this router to forward it here, and from here it will know how to respond. So I'm just going to get here, I'll hit enter, and I'm just going to save what we have done. Do write memory. And once that is done, if you go to from our test PC here, sorry, from our user PC, if you try again that thing that we did before that failed, it should be able to go through now. So everything is going through the firewall. We have permitted all traffic to go through the firewall. So from here, I'll do a continuous ping to just see how far things are going. So just do a continuous ping here. It should just be going continuously. And once we are here, I'm just going to go back to the CLI here, SG1. SG1 is the one that's currently active. And I want to just make this particular cluster to go down. We use the ClusterXL underscore admin down. So we hit this and we expect the security gateway 2 to come up and be active. But what I want us to see is the downtime. How much time is going to take before the security gateway 2 takes over the session. So if you hit enter here, it says this command does not, cluster member state is now down. So if we go back to where we're doing our pings, you see here that it's barely minimal, really unnoticeable that that particular Excel, that particular server was even down. How do we know this? If you check here, if you check, if I go back to Clish, or let's say I hit exit from here, and if we type the cp ha prop state, you see very well here that the failover has actually already occurred. And before we saw that SG1 was the primary, but now it's down. And you see that SG2 is the one that is currently active here. So to make it to come back active, and you can clearly see that security, the pings were going through. You cannot even identify that there was even any timeout session or any downtime that happened. So it was minimal. In some cases, you could see some 2 to 3 timeouts and the traffic still gets on, but the downtime is always very minimal or quite unnoticeable. So if we get back here and if we want to make that security gateway to come back up, we'll go to the expert mode again, type in expert, and you put in your password that you created for the expert mode, and you type in the cluster XL underscore admin, you type in up here. So you're going to make this member to come back up here. So you see it's still seamless. Traffic is still going through that particular firewall. Even if you want to take it one step further, you can take it one step further by just powering off this security gateway. Let's say power just went off. If you power it off and you get back to your CLI here, you realize that traffic is still going through the device itself. We still have access to that. If you look here on the screen, you see this particular device is up, the traffic is still going through the firewall that we have there. So that's how you normally set up the high availability with two different firewalls. And also take key notes here that the interfaces here are same. It is 0 on this side, it is 0, it's 1, it's 1 as well, and it's 2, it's 2 as well. So always try to make that happen like that. And the last thing before we leave for today, we'll just try to talk about the SMS high availability. How do we fail over traffic? Let's say we want SMS2 to be the one that takes over from SMS1. Since currently SMS1 is the one managing all these different firewalls here, policies are created from here and being pushed to these security gateways that we have here. But how do you make that particular task to be transferred to SMS2 here? So we're going to be talking about that now. And to make that happen, it all happens within the smart console. So if we get to our smart console here, we'll go to our smart console PC. And once we're in our smart console PC, we can clearly see that synchronization was successful, everything looks green. So you see SG1, it shows red here because it was powered off, and we can power it on. I'll just power it on so that it's synchronizing the background. So now here I'll close this, and here I'll equally close this as well. So if we look closely to what we have here, we are going to see clearly that if we look closely at what we have, we are going to see clearly that SMS1 and SMS2, since I just powered SG1 back up, is booting up, and the synchronization of states between them is about to happen. So, but for SMS1 and SMS2, how do you make the failover happen? Because you see, we have one crown here, it's for SMS1, and SMS2 is it has two crowns, it's secondary. Even if even if you use another smart console to log into SMS2, you'll be able to log in just in the read-only mode. You'll not be able to perform some configurations there. You'll not be able to do the right configurations. So to be able to see the state at the bottom of your screen, you see this particular icon here. You can click on it. Once you click on it, you'll be able to see the option that will just pop up here. You can see here, it shows here SMS1 with this IP is currently active, and SMS2 is standby, and the between themselves the database was synchronized and was last synchronized at this particular time here. So if you come here and you click on actions, you click actions here, you see set to standby. If you take set to standby, it does not mean that this one automatically comes up automatic. So here we're just going to click here and I'll say set to standby. Here you are about to say, are you sure you want to change the connection server to standby? You say yes, you confirm that. And just because you make it standby does not necessarily mean the other server is going to come up. Does not, yes, you take okay. It does not mean that the other server is going to come up automatically. So you give it some time, and once it comes, we'll see what to do. Connection to the server was lost as usual. So we're going to log in again there, and I'm just going to input our password. So you can see, since we're logging into this particular primary server here, since we just made it to be the standby mode, it shows that we are logging in only in the read-only mode. But it does not mean if you log into the SMS2 at this particular moment using the smart console, it does not mean if you log in there right now, you're going to have the read-write permissions assigned to it. You need to equally manually go and set it to active before it's now going to be able to be in that particular active state. So at the bottom here, if you click from the bottom here as well, or just click here, you see they say no active server is present. So you need to take action here. You click on this action and you need to connect to this particular server first. I'll connect to it. This SMS2 is equally set to standby like this. So connect to it here. I equally connect to it from here. You can set this one to active back. You can set it back to active. This one is currently set here. So it's currently on the standby mode. You can set this back to active if you want to. So this is how you play around and you set one particular security management server to be the primary or the secondary. You need to always do it manually. It's never going to happen automatically. So I just come here. Let's hold on for it to come. So now once you log into SMS2, this is now where you have the option now to set this to set active. So you can now set it here to set as active. You click on set to active here. Are you sure you want to change the server to active? You take yes. So this SMS2, you're going to make it to be the active server, and it's going to now change that failover state. It says here the connected server is now active. You take OK. So it's switching to itself to active here. And you see SMS1 now is the one that is a standby. So you need to manually put the other one on standby, and you need to equally manually put SMS2 on active. So the failover is not automatic, but synchronization of the databases from SMS1 to SMS2 or SMS2 to SMS1 is automatic. So all of them have that shared database there. So that's it for the lab of today, guys. And with that being said, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more related security content. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye for now.